All right, guys, we are in Leading with Emotional Courage. Me and Scott are about to finish this book with you guys. So we want to go into the last three chapters, finish off well with a powerful vision of just the kind of world he hopes to create. And hopefully, as we go through this with those who are in recovery and those who are maybe just getting to know us and watch our videos, you'll also see what an inspiration it is for you to go out and create a world just like that too, that he has a vision for. So we're jumping into chapter 46, risk, truth, and of course we get. Of course, truth is our foundation for scripture. So we're jumping into this one, but we're talking about what is truth for us. So what did you get out of the chapter? What is it saying about truth?
Well, it really spoke to me because his main point is to risk sharing what's on your mind.
Yeah.
He says that courage underlies all smart risk taking, and we need to be willing to risk sharing what we're really thinking, what we're really feeling. That's, from a leadership point of view, that's what good leaders should desire to have around them.
Absolutely. And being willing to hear it from other people too. But as we've said before, and I've used this one, I will look over at Nicole after I hear a comment, and maybe it's said really quickly, because usually Nicole's a very internal thinker, but I'll look over and say, okay, the truth that I'm telling myself right now is that you're frustrated with me, and she'll be like, no, I'm not, but it's so valuable to me because I can jump in there. And at one point I feel like it's a vulnerable thing to basically say, this is what's going on in my mind. But I tell you what, being able to do that, and it only takes like 3 minutes, for you to get the answer. Like, yeah. Okay, no, that's not the truth. Great. I can move on, right? I can move on without carrying this illusion assumption for the rest of my day,
That's right. That's right. So from a recovery point of view,
mm-hmm.
It's our job to tell the bold truth. Well, what if the bold truth is about me and I'm struggling?
Yeah.
If I want to move forward in my recovery, I've got to tell the bold truth. I've got to come out of denial, recognize that I may be powerless in this particular area and I need help.
Yeah.
And that'll help me move forward in my recovery. Or it could be helping another person, saying, it seems like you're struggling here, and if you want to talk, I'm here. I mean, that's pretty bold, and it could really be a hand reaching down to help pull somebody out of the pit that they find themselves in too.
Yeah. I mean, he basically says, we feel like sometimes we want to learn more or get a better strategy. That's why books like Radical Candor exist. But in fact, he says, the biggest thing that we usually struggle with is simply the courage or the boldness to actually do it. And I think, though, well, frankly, you can look at scripture and say, if you walk humbly and if you come with an attitude of humility and being teachable, and you're angling it about your own feelings and your thoughts rather than what you know to be true about the other person, which is usually just assumptions, then I think the rewards are, I think, far beyond usually what we tell ourselves. I think actually, I don't think it's usually. I think it's just.
Yeah, that's right. So bold truth, and then that leads us into chapter 47. Try something different, the unexpected power. Now, I want to make sure I have my title right here. The unexpected power of inauthenticity.
Yes.
That's right, right?
It truly is. It stopped me in my tracks there for a second too. I was like, wait, what?
That's right.
In authenticity. Yes. Um, so what did you see?
Yeah, I know he starts that chapter by talking about walking into his daughter's room. I believe she was doing a science project that required sand, and they had just redone their floors, and he saw the sand starting to go on their floors. And instead of entering into that in a helpful way, he entered into it in a judgmental way or in an angry way. And he realized he realized what he said hurt his daughter.
Yeah.
He didn't try and understand her point of view, where she was coming from. He wasn't empathetic. So he went to his wife and he asked her, "What should I have done?" And I loved it. Her response is, so his wife is telling him what he should have said to his daughter.
Yep.
"Sweetie, there's a lot of sand here. How can I help you clean it up?"
Yeah.
And it's so simple, right? And he breaks that down into three parts. And this is the heart of this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Identify the problem, state what needs to happen, and then offer to help.
Right. So how does that relate to authenticity? Because I did highlight one line that it came together for me, because he said, when you identify the problem, say what needs to happen, offer to help. That does not feel authentic. What feels authentic for him in the moment is, oh my gosh, you just got sand all over our new floor. What the heck are you doing? This is not well thought out, and ranting and raving. That feels authentic to us because that's the emotion. Although that is not what's needed. That's not the language that is going to produce the outcome that he wants, or definitely the outcome that his daughter wants.
Right.
You know, and the line that he wrote is, learning requires emotional courage because by definition, it will always feel inauthentic. Practicing a new behavior, showing up in a new way, or acting differently feels inauthentic. It feels inauthentic because we're not used to it. It feels inauthentic because that it just doesn't come naturally to me, maybe I should just shut my mouth here and listen, and just totally reframe this experience, and that would feel inauthentic, and yet it would be true for that moment in terms of connecting, in terms of actually listening, loving, right?
Yep. I thought of it when he was describing that in terms of like a golf swing.
Okay, tell me about that. I'm not a golfer, so
well, I'm not much of
tell
one
me
either,
what's
to
on
be
the
honest.
end.
In days gone by, when I would receive any kind of golf instruction, listening to what he was saying, when somebody teaches you to do something differently than you're used to doing it,
Yeah,
physically, it feels weird. It almost feels,
yes,
it feels awkward. You're
it does.
like, everybody's looking at me and they must think, why is he swinging that way? And yet if you hang in there over time, of course you get used to it. And his point here is that, I love this, when we start to try and implement change, it can feel fake. Like if I start to say no to people, if I struggle with being a people pleaser and all of a sudden I start to say no to people, it can start to feel fake. It actually reminds me of another great book, much older book by Dr. Dan Allender, called Bold Love.
Yeah.
And the whole point there is, you may have no problem saying no to people. And so when you say no, it just rolls off your tongue. I may have a lot of problem, but if I recognize, in order to love somebody well, I have to have better boundaries. And
Yeah.
for me, saying no, it feels awkward. It feels out of place.
Inauthentic.
It feels not like me. It feels inauthentic.
Yeah. Yeah. The example that came to mind was the love languages. I actually feel inauthentic when I give someone a gift. I mean, when you take the test these days, it shows you percentages. Well, that's 0% for me. So giving me a gift, I'm like, great, and I put it on the shelf because it just doesn't, but when I give a gift, I it takes work for me. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm loving someone by giving them a gift. But I know that's how some people feel loved, is they are recognized, they're noticed. And I'm like, great. I don't feel like I loved you, but but I'm gonna do it because I know at least the reaction will, the action will produce the right result. So it's good though for us. I think it keeps us on the edge. And I mean, I will say I'm not sure how I still feel about the title.
Right.
But anyway, it does. I think it does lead into chapter 48, the limitless possibility of now. A question that can change your life.
Yes.
So we're gonna hear, and you'll just have to guess what the question is. I'm just joking.
Yeah, well, he starts this chapter out by talking about how he's exercised so consistently, at least in the recent past, but he felt like he wasn't seeing a whole lot of change. And then all of a sudden, change occurred.
Yeah.
And he says the key for him, again, to make the physical parallel, was when he started to he mixed it up, basically. He started to change his routine, messed up the muscle memory, so his muscles weren't used to it. And all of a sudden, he started to experience, he lost weight, he felt better. It was a good decision to vary his routine.
Yes. Yeah. So, should I read off the question?
Yes. So, what is it?
And actually, I will say it's powerful. I mean, it does move my thinking to action, or just action, but moves my thinking to living. I'll say it that way because, what's happening inside our minds, while we want it to be real, it only becomes real when it becomes tangible, right? When it becomes even physiological too, right? So the question is, what can I do right now that would be the most powerful use of this moment?
That's something you want to knit and put in a frame, I think.
That's right. That's one of those over the doorway things where the team slap it,
Yes.
What can I do right now to get the most powerful moment possible, And he says things like, okay, so what can you say? What can you do? What question could you ask? What issue do you need to bring up? What decision do you need to make? Things that feel very simple, but they are tangible. You're moving from potential to real in that moment, and he goes on to say, connect with others, commit to the larger purpose, hone your emotional courage in that moment. So it's really good question to ask though, because it is one of those things where when you're driving home, you're thinking, what's the most powerful use of this moment? I'm in my car, but what can I do? Maybe I'm going to I'm just going to really talk to God for the next 2 or 3 minutes, and see where that leads. Hey, I'm going to call up an old friend. Hey, I'm going to really go next door and really say, I'm sorry, this is the story I've been telling myself for weeks now, and I just got to get it off my chest, So really powerful though.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
So he's at this point, this is the last chapter and then the epilogue, and he begins to wrap up the book.
Yeah.
He says, having the courage to take bold risks along with skilled communication toward new opportunities is possibly the most critical skill a leader can have. And so it's that can be the example of what we can do right now, the most powerful thing in this moment is, I'm going to take a bold risk here. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it gracefully. That's the skilled communication, in the hopes that it might invite a better relationship between the two of us, or it might help our organization, or help us draw closer. Maybe from a spiritual point of view, it could be, I'm going to be honest with God about how I'm feeling, what my thoughts are. I'm going to, not that we can hide our thoughts from God in the first place, but we tend to think we can. At least I do sometimes. All of that can be a bold risk that can move us more toward the kind of person I would say that God's created us to be, and that I want to be.
Yeah. So I'm going to read off the paragraph because it is a great vision. And I think it leads us back to Jesus. You know, our vision leading back to what Jesus came to do, came to show us, came to actually fill. So first he says, I am grateful for you. And I know, and this is for you, this is for our audience. Scott and I are grateful for each and every one of you that do show up, whether it's on video or whether it's Monday night. It is a bold step. And we're thankful for our Celebrate Recovery family. So I want to live in a world in which each of us can show up fully as ourselves every day with confidence, connection, commitment, and courage. It would be a world in which we listen without getting defensive and speak our truth with clarity and compassion, a world in which we take risks to pursue the things that are important to us and do it so well, so inspiringly, that others are clamoring to get on board. And I'm going to jump down. I want us to be real human beings, which of course, that's what Jesus was. Cracks and challenges and emotions, to stand strong as leaders, to move forward with what is important to us, not despite our humanness, but because of it. And once again, he's saying that's, in his opinion, what real humanness is, what it can look like. So we just thank you for tracking with us. I mean, it was a great book. Obviously, you can see by now over all of these books, very common themes, common elements, because they're really simple. You know, God did not make it complicated. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it does mean it's simple. And it really just takes now, and it takes connection, and it takes emotional courage to move forward. So thank you, guys.
Take a deep breath.
That's right. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath this weekend or wherever you're at. Connect with God. Connect to someone else next. And hopefully we will see you again on our next video or on Mondays.
Love to have you. All right, guys, this has been fun. So join us in the next session as we start a new book. But you'll have to join us to see what that new book is going to be.
That's right.
All right.